Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and initial impressions on the Monstrum Banshee 1 through 10 powered scope. Let's get started. I've been looking at the Monstrum products for a while now, and honestly, while I appreciated their price, I felt like their price was a bit of a warning, as much as it is a low priced item because it is a low value item. So far, of the two items I purchased, the vertical grip with built-in light and this guy, I gotta say, I feel like they are making a name for themselves in a positive way. So this is the exterior of the box. And we'll go through a couple things here. It's a 1 through 10 low-powered variable optic. It has the MX1 reticule, which I rather like. It's a box in the middle with a bunch of mil dots around the outside. They are 1/2 MOA per click. We have a length of just shy of 11 inches and a weight of 20 ounces. We will be confirming that with the science box. And a lifetime warranty. Takes a CR2032 battery and comes with a bit of swag inside the box. So inside the box, the way it arrived, you'll cut through two of these tape stickers. We have the scope itself in not the best packaging. I guess the bag would be pseudo waterproof, but no foam padding or anything like that. We have a lens cloth, the instruction manual, some cards, and I believe a sticker for free advertising on their end. A spare 2032 battery, the Allen key to put it into place, and buried under here is a very nice monolithic scope mount with 4 lugs to engage on your rail. Pretty decent. The desiccant pack is not to be eaten. I don't really know why they had to put that on there, but let's start with some weights with the science box. I usually have opted for individual rings versus the monolithic mount. This one comes with it. So 150 grams, just shy of half a pound by itself. Not the lightest. Doesn't really feel heavy in hand. No rattle, as one would imagine. Again, you have 4 bolts holding that into place. So for the Savage recoil of the 5.56 or 223 cartridge, I imagine that's going to be more than enough. Kind of nice that they put the 4 lugs on there. And then we have 8 bolts holding on the 2 rings. Moving on to the scope itself, which I will admit I have had out of the bag a couple times and looked through the window and all. Have not mounted it yet, but the scope itself, oof. We're looking at 1 pound 3 ounces or 530 grams altogether. Poof, 681 grams, 1.5 pounds. So it's not the lightest setup, but it is a 1 through 10 time magnification, which is something I'm not used to. I do have a couple 3x9s and I have a 1 through 4, but to have a 1 through 10, especially for the weight, 1.5 pounds, I don't think that's excessive. Let's move on to a couple other metrics. The mount is 5.5 inches long. The actual connection to the rail is 3 inches long. The space in between is 2.25 inches in between the rings, and from furthest side to furthest side is just shy of 4 inches. So takes up a little bit of real estate on your rail, and then you know, it would clearly hold your scope into place. So you have a couple different mounting options. You can put it this way, and depending on where you need your eye box to be, you have a little bit of slop there. Again, what I say, 2.25 inches, or you could do it this way, whichever way your rail allows for. My understanding is you would be better off doing something like this. The weight distribution. Huh, impressive. Actually, right about the middle of this section here. Let's see. So we got a pretty close teeter-totter right there, which puts us about 6.5 inches down the 11.5 inch optic. So, I mean, that's pretty nearly the center, plus or minus 1/4 inch. So not bad there. The material, that is the grandfather clock. Everyone should have one. Stand by for the cuckoo clock. Everyone should have one of those. The fit and finish on this is superb. Let me see, this side is the microphone. So admittedly a very difficult to turn notchy illumination control there. There's the promised cuckoo clock. Everyone should have one. Well, to their credit, they sent this in with pretty torqued on cap, but underneath here would be your 2032 battery, which allows you to do this. We are on 1x zoom right now, and the reticule is a square one with a dot in the middle, and it can be non-illuminated, green, or red, and you can have it at different levels of brightness to suit your needs. So what we can do, and this is going to be difficult to show on camera because the human eye or the human vision system is biopic, and that we have two cameras we're looking for, and we transpose the image onto each other. I don't know how well you can see, so you'll probably just have to take my word for it, although it was pretty focused there. If we go to the box, the reticule is one where the square is in the center, and then you do have a couple dots on the side. If I count it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I was enunciating 5 and 10 a little louder. The hash marks are larger for the 5 and 10, so it's a pretty it's a faster way of indexing how many dots you're at. You don't have to count them out. But I wish I could get a close-up or a more solid image of that reticule. And there's a couple things going on here. Your left, right, up, down axis has to be correct, and your distance has to be correct. And of course, it's not going to focus. But I'll just go ahead and roll in right here what that reticule looks like. But the thing I like about this is I saw it on a YouTube video, and this is the same with all low-powered variable optics with a one-time zoom. You can keep both eyes open. And if your left eye is looking here and your right eye is looking here, but your right eye is looking through the scope, you can essentially just put this reticule on top of what both eyes are looking at, and it acts as a pseudo red dot. Versus being zoomed in, this is now at 10 time. It's going to be a little more difficult to get that reticule to show up. You can have it be a powered optic, and that you can zoom in and out of your target with that. Or you can keep your cap closed and use it as a pseudo red dot, as I said. So you have QCB close-up stuffs, be it with the cap closed or not. This is a lot easier to pick up on. And again, you're just focusing with your left eye as you're looking down this with your right eye. I will roll in a little bit of footage out the window and show you what that looks like. The picture clarity on this has been fantastic so far. Even at the 10 time, the asterisk with that is, again, I have not mounted this yet. So at 10 time, and what you'll find even with it being mounted on a rifle, the slightest amount of shimmy or you breathing or your heart beating is going to make the optic magnify that movement by 10 times. So you may not necessarily need to use the 10 time. You may not have the clearest vision at 10 time. But just because you have that setting doesn't mean you have to use it, and doesn't mean you have to use it as a 10 time zoom while shooting. What you could do, and I guess one of the benefits with this is, unlike a red dot, you have a one-time magnification all the time. It will help you get quick shots on target and do gross motor functions where you can line up targets quickly and put a number of shots near the target in a faster amount of time than you could with a zoomed optic. But what this allows me to do is, on the 10 time setting, on the 8 time, on the 6 time, whatever you want to do, you can positively identify the target downrange. Is that actually a deer? Is that actually a rabbit? Is that actually a squirrel? Is that actually a human being? You can identify not only what it is, where it is, how far away it is, which direction it's heading in, if it sees you, if it's, you know, on its way going somewhere. So you can, almost like binoculars, be able to zoom in and identify the target, see what's actually going on downrange. And then you can zoom back a little bit and get a little bit better idea. If something is moving, you can zoom out and see where it's moving, how fastly it's moving, use the mil dots to track it, get a little bit of a lead on the target kind of thing. But let's go ahead and see if I can't manage to take this outside and show you what the image quality looks like. So far, it's very nice. I need to figure out which optic it's going on. The cap, we're looking at 1 7/8 inch, maybe for the bell, maybe 1.5 inch. The rear optic is probably 1.5 inch diameter. I don't see any excessive chromatic abrasion or like a purple tinge to the items as I'm looking through it. I was just showing my uncle-in-law who came over and got a deer on my property. Good job, uncle. And showed him this, and he was impressed with it. The zooming in at 10 time, looking through a, admittedly, probably dirty window, I could make out individual branches, individual leaves, almost the individual veins on those leaves at probably 100 yards away. So the glass quality and clarity and color retention appears to be there, which again, for the $150 on sale price, is very good to see. So we have waterproof, fog-proof, and shock-proof. They have multi-coated lenses and nitrogen filled and all that stuff. You have 2 ears. Let me make it a little higher contrast for you. 2 ears that you can easily pop the spring-loaded lenses off of. These are just friction held into place. They can both come off. You have a dioptic adjuster if you want to shoot without glasses. There is a threading on the front objective lens that I imagine you could screw in either a kill flash or a sunshade. And there is not one on the rear. But let's go through the indexes. We have 1 through 10. If I look here to there, it's more than 180 degree throw. So if we keep this flush with this line, this guy's sitting here at maybe 330. And this guy goes to probably 830. So I'd say maybe like a 140, 150 degree throw, which means you have a little bit more variances in between. Instead of having a throw of 1 to 10, you have more control over fine-tuning how zoomed in you are. I'm going to put this next to the microphone, and I'm essentially just going to do this and go through the whole zoom ring. You can hear the optic sliding there, but the only sound you hear is the essentially the lock. Lock. So very quiet in operation, very smooth. I don't really feel it binding, or it seems very linear. and that it doesn't start chunky and then get super slick and then start slick and get very chunky. If you keep the amount of force you're applying to it the same, the speed it's rotating at appears to be the same. This is indicative of quality. If something is not engineered very well or of poor quality, you would think that you'd be getting some variances in how it operates. Let's check that. So if I'm zooming in, so we're zooming in, and then I stop and start zooming back the other way, it's tight. So there is no slop in that when I go this way and stop and go back the other way, there's no looseness, vagueness. It is set to 3.5 times zoom, and then it is going back the other way. That ring is directly connected to the mechanism, from what I can tell. Again, we have 1, 1.52, 2.53, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the zoom is not going to be linear. The mechanism is, but the amount of travel between 1 and 2 is going to cover the amount of travel between 4.5 and 10. So as you get more zoomed in, the least amount of movement is going to zoom or affect the zoom more than it would on the less magnified side. These are in white writing versus the etching of Monstrum, which the other thing I'm liking about Monstrum is they don't really boldface hit you with their product. They don't stamp it everywhere. They don't draw attention to the fact that it's a Monstrum. It's very restrained, and I appreciate that. So far, they've been pretty decent quality products, and they do have their name on there. You can still tell people what they are and advertise for them, or social network their product, but they don't hit you over the head with it. It's not written across the entire tube. It's not in glowing white. I appreciate that. We have 1 through 10 by 24. 24 millimeter is the diameter of, I believe it would be this one, of your main lens. And then again, this would be your dioptic adjustment to compensate for reading glasses, nearsighted, farsighted kind of thing. The next thing we have are the turrets. Let me do it again. So completely tight. We have half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. So it's 3 full rotations to get this off. These are not going to accidentally fall off. They take quite a bit of effort. The machining is good. I see probably 5 lands and grooves for the thread pitch on these caps, so they're not going to go anywhere. And what I like about these two is they tell you it's a 1/2 inch at 100 yards, so it's 1/2 MOA adjustments on these guys. But also, with the included Allen wrench, once you zero these, you can actually zero these. So you see how they're set to 0 and 0. This has not been zeroed to the rifle. So let's go through that. If this is pointing here and my shots are here, I need to move the scope reticule up, and I need to move the scope reticule to the right. And now my shots are going to be in line with where I'm pointing. If this was 0 and this was 0, I would have moved it up, call it 5 for the sake of argument, and over 5. Well, I'm going to be showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to be showing 2.1 here and 2.1 here. If I undo the Allen key, I can lift this cap, rotate it, whichever way I have to make it a 0, and then tighten them back down. So now I can confirm just by taking these caps off if my 0 has wandered, and that allows me to dope the scope, where if I'm zeroed at 50 yards, but I know I'm going to be shooting at 100 yards pretty consistently at a known shooting range or at a known distance, I can compensate and move the reticule X number of clicks depending on my load and which caliber I'm shooting, and boo, 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 boo. And I know that I can turn it 5, 7, 8 clicks, whatever I need to do. And I can see that I have moved it those 8 clicks. Once I want to return it back to 50, I can just rotate this back to the 0 mark. I feel like I'm seeing that more and more on let us say, budget scopes, but for the price range, for the zoom range, it's actually very nice that they went ahead and made that very simple but useful addition to their turret adjustments. That's about what I have for that. So let me go ahead and see if I can't get this set up to go outside. We are losing a little bit of daylight, but that will factor into it too. The smaller input diameter glass is going to absorb less light and make your image a little darker. So it is getting towards sunset during the winter here. So let's take it outside, see what the image quality looks like, and see how little or how much that smaller entrance tube affects the quality. All right, welcome down to the shooting range for the first time in the daylight, I believe. I have set up here the best television series known by and made by mankind, Firefly, would recommend. I'm going to go back about 30 yards. We're going to put the gun in a lead sled and see what the different focal lengths look like. This is going to be a lot of freehanding, so bear with me. But there we go. So, I mean, at one-time zoom, you have a one-time zoom at about 30 yards. I mean, it's very hard to quantify, but it's not a small field of view. I would say probably 25 yards across, and that the more you zoom in, the less you're going to see left, right? So don't really have a way to quantify that for you, but the one time is a one time. You can see the reticule a little bit better. When we turn on the illumination, only the square illuminates. And that's kind of nice because there's Doggo. Hi, Inara. Again, the eye box is going to close on you when you go left, right, up, down, outside of its range. But the illumination is going to continue. And I guess this is the better way to show you the individual dots on the reticule there. The box really draws your eye in, and then in the center you have that green dot as well. So that is green. Let's go to the brightest red, and again with the eye box closed on you, the eye box open, I would say the green draws in a little bit better. Another thing to note, and this is a camera that probably does automatic gains and stuff like that, but if you look over here and over here, the brightness is pretty comparable. The sky is about the same color, the grass is about the same color. So I don't know that the smaller diameter front lens is going to affect your picture quality too bad, unless it's super dark outside, in which case you're not going to be shooting at anything anyways. But that is our one time. Let me go ahead and switch it to the 10 and we'll see how that compares. Doggo's going to go right in the way, of course. So here is the 10 time, and that DVD that we couldn't see before is quite easy to see. You can read Firefly, you can read Joss Whedon right above it. The clarity even through the glass, through the camera is there, especially if I can get it properly lined up with the eye box. But the image quality is there. The reticule is very nice. That dot, especially since it's highlighted, we'll say, by the reticule, the square being illuminated works pretty well. Let me see if I can get the focus to work again, to really draw your eye into that center dot. So far, my camera is not working with me here, but so far I'd say it's pretty nice. Let me go ahead and put the camera down and just look through it myself. But you can see individual nails, you can see individual grains in the railroad ties. You can read the DVD cover there. So I would say the image quality is definitely there. Let me go ahead and take a personal look though. All right, so yeah, looking through the lens, This is across the board with any powered scope. The higher the magnification, the less forgiving the eye box is. The forward backward of the eye box is actually fairly forgiving. The left, right, up, down is less so. But now I moved it over to the individual bird shot and bullet holes on the palette there. And they're very easy to make out, more so than what this video is showing you. But so far, I cannot condemn the glass quality. I feel like I've had other scopes. I think it's a 6x14 Barska, and its image quality collapses the further you zoom out. So this one's actually, while it is a 1 through 10, and I'm sure it is going to degrade the further away you are, I don't know that I'm going to be taking 300-yard, 400-yard shots with this, as much as probably identifying and confirming hits on target kind of thing. But I would say the quality's there. The other thing I will say is the eye box is forgiving going rearward, forward. So if you have an adjustable stock, say on an AR-15, depending on your stock position, you're probably going to be in the clear. If not, it's simple enough to adjust it. If you have it fully retracted in, I was room sweeping with this on the one-time zoom with the stock completely collapsed, and I was able to look down and get the reticule and everything to line up pretty ergonomically without having to contort my body or, you know, push my head down into a artificial cheek weld. It is heavy. You are feeling that 1.5 pounds, especially on a lighter build. But when I slung it to walk down here, I didn't really notice the weight. So by that, I mean, if you're hunting, if you're traveling with it, if you're patrolling, something like that, you're not necessarily going to notice the weight as much as trying to shoulder it and stabilize it to take shots. So that, what was it, 1.5 pounds? It's a hefty boy. It's not the lightest, but it's also not the heaviest. And for the 1 through 10 magnification range, and illuminated, and mil dotted, and zeroable turrets for $150, I don't think you can go wrong. Here is one more observation. So this is a fiber optic front sight. It was collapsed during the previous recordings. I went ahead and bumped it up. So let's say you have a rifle with a standard front sight or a non-collapsible front sight, iron sight. Does that get in the way? The answer on 10 time is no. Come on. There we go. So on 10 time, it does not show that front sight there. As we switch to a 1 time, we're still going to call it a no. So let me go ahead and turn the illumination on. You're essentially 1/3 co-witnessing. So you can keep your sight up. This is tall enough above that sight where it is going to obscure your image the least littlest bit, but you're probably not looking below your gun. You're looking up over those iron sights. And like I said, essentially co-witnessing. Your iron sights, ironically, are becoming the 1/3 co-witness. But even on the 0 time, if you have your irons up, assuming they're not collapsing, this is still of a proper height and of a wide enough field of view that non-collapsing sights should not be a problem. And then if your scope breaks or if you get a quick disconnect or quick release or something like that, you can easily transition to irons. So that's about what we have. Let's, as I said, return to base and do a final wrap-up. The last thing we have is a bit of a comparison. So this is the Monstrum. It is 11.5 inches long, and we're going to be comparing it to the Gen 1 primary arms 1 through 4 by 24 millimeter low power variable optic. So I got this about 1.5 years ago, used on eBay for $100. If we line it up at the same point, you'll notice this one's actually 12 inches long, a full 1/2 inch longer than this Monstrum. The tubes are the same diameter, the exit diameter is the same size, but this is also a 1x4 versus a 1 through 10. So you have 2.5 times more zoom in a slightly smaller package. But what about the weight? Remember, this was 1 pound, 8 ounces, so 1.5 pounds. We're going to get our science box. Bear with me, this has to go away. And hopefully you won't hear the gravity spike of it smashing off the ground, off camera there. We're going to line all this stuff back up. Beep-a-dee-beep-a-dee-boo. Okay, so let us zero this. The weight to beat is 1.5 pounds. 1 pound, 8 ounces. This is 1 pound, 5 ounces. So for 3 ounces more, and granted they are not the same mount, but for a 3 ounce more heavy package, I get 2.5 times more zoom with a superior reticle. So if I flip this guy open, this one just has kind of the German sniper kind of reticule. You only have the left, right, and downwards crosshairs. You're not going to focus, are you? With a single dot in the middle. I don't even know that this has mil dots. It's a very basic reticule. Versus the Monstrum that was $150 on sale, not used. I feel like this was $150, $200 when it was new as well. So for the price, I'm really liking the Monstrum. I may be outfitting a few more rifles with it. I feel like the same packaging giving you 2.5 times more utilizable zooming capacity, again, for positively identifying your targets, seeing what direction they're doing, which direction they're going in, if they're carrying something. While I was out there, the dog went towards the woods behind the shooting range and then backtracked, and I was able to zoom in with the 10 time, and I could see that she had a dog tag. I could see it shaking as she's walking. I, of course, couldn't read it, but I could now identify her collar was green. She has a gold dog tag, stuff like that. So I can do a little bit more reconning or observations or spotting for other shooters with the superior zoom of this Monstrum. All in all, so far, again, with 0 rounds down the pipe, this is just an unboxing, initial impressions and inspection. I'm really jazzed. I feel like you couldn't spend less money to get a better product. So we have the flip-up caps. We have a very nice mount with 4 lugs. We have 8 Torx, actually, not Phillips screws, but Torx holding everything into place. Everything moves freely or is not prone to binding. The turrets are pretty nice in that they're zeroable. All in all, I would say I'm very happy with the money spent. And hopefully through all this, you guys have a little bit more insight on why I chose it, if it's something you would be interested in, and if it's worth your $150 dues as well. So, as always, this is outside the target demographic. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Any questions, comments, concerns you have, leave them in the comments section below. Any experience or observations you have, I'd love to hear about them as well down below. And I will catch you guys in the next video.